pretty much all the time I see people in Twitch chat say, I am hard stuck in Diamond 2, what deck should I be playing? And the answer is,
no more holding sex!
You have 3 weeks left to get to Masters. That's right, 3 weeks left, or 3 weeks to get to the tier that you're looking to get, whatever division that may be. I wanted to give you some tips to help you get to that next division, because you might as well push for it now. The beta season will be coming to a close in 3 weeks, and now is the time to really push yourself. On screen you can see this is me playing in Diamond 1, pushing to Masters, which I did end up getting a few weeks ago, or month ago, somewhere in that timeline. And a question that I see all the time on Twitch is, how do you get to Masters? Or I'm hard stuck in this rank, what do I need to improve on? And I do have different tips for the different divisions on things that I think can be helpful. The first one is if you're in Iron and Bronze. This one is going to be very straightforward, but it is just play the game. You generally can just do very well just playing the game, and it is a bit of a grind in some ways, but if you just play the game, pay attention to your plays, you'll do well. I'm sorry that it's like very, very, very bland. If you're really struggling in these ranks, you should be watching streamers and YouTubers who are higher rank, and you can see what they're doing and why they are doing it. But overall, it's really just, I would say, getting out of Iron and Bronze is playing the game. That is what you need to do. It's just part of the game, part of the climb. Silver is going to start, for now on, I'm going to start going a little bit more in depth of what you're supposed to be doing, but Silver is know your deck's win condition. You need to know when you're the aggressor, when you are the reactor, if you are looking to combo, you need to know what your deck is looking to do. So if you're discard aggro, you pretty much know all the time that you're going to be the aggressor. That's just how it is. If you're playing more of a mid Demacia though, it's a lot different. If you're against a discard aggro, you're going to be playing a bit slower, trying to set up some heal if possible, but you're going to play a bit slower and reacting to what they play, making sure you can get the favorable trades in your direction. But if you're against an Ezreal combo as Demacia, you have to be the aggressor now. You can't just spend your time of setting up this board and just slowly going at it. You're gonna have to be a lot more consistent and playing on curve and making sure you put as much pressure on your opponent as possible. So really, Silver comes down to understanding your win conditions, when to be aggressive, when to not be aggressive, and how to react to your opponent's deck. And yeah. Gold is think about your opponent's hand and what they are going to want to do during the game. Like, what goals are they looking to accomplish, and what can you do with your hand to stop them from doing those goals? Think of what they're going to do and how you'll react. That is what you want to do over and over again. You can see that in this clip, I know that my opponent wants to level up Ezreal, and sometimes I'll see if there are ways for me to counter that, but I also know that I am the aggressor in this. You can see I'm playing very aggressive, I'm playing all my elusives, and I'm just going at it as much as I can because I know I'm on a timer. Ezreal puts you on a timer, and I know that I do not have much time until they're going to kill me, so I have to play as many cards as I can on curve, use my mana very efficiently, and that is what I am doing there. I also want to think about what is the worst case scenario. What can my opponent play that ruins my day, and is there a way I can prevent that? Sometimes there is a way, and you want to make sure you save the mana for that or do what you need to do. Sometimes there is not a way to prevent that though, and you have to just accept it. Judgment is a card that often does this. You'll be like, alright, you know what? I can either play all my cards into Judgment and lose, or I can not get enough attack and lose the next turn. There is a chance of that sometimes you don't play around it. Usually you do, but there are cases where you can't afford to because you don't have another win condition besides making sure you win that turn. That is very, very important to know, and something that a lot of players misunderstand is that you cannot always play around everything. There are times where you have to take that risk and hope that it pays off. If it doesn't, too bad, you gotta go to the next game. If it does, great, and I'm happy for you, but make sure you recognize that that was a risk you had to take at the time. You don't always have to take that risk. And then also think about cards such as Deny, Ruination, Glimpse, combat tricks such as Barrier or adding attack. Think about those all the time. Pay attention to your opponent's mana. Brittle Steel is a very tricky one because it's only 1 mana, but something like Harsh Winds is 6 mana, and it's a lot easier to play around because you know what to expect. Be thinking of all those combat tricks. It's really nice that in Runeterra, the colors of the card very much give you the idea, the colors of the card, colors of the regions very much give you an idea of what the regions are going to be doing. and that is super, super important to pay attention to. What can I do to either combat these tricks or make it so them using the combat trick doesn't hurt me as bad? The next thing is plat. Plat starts coming down to people start making more tiny errors, making tiny attacking and trading errors that end up costing you the game, because one creature can make a really big difference and one combat spell can make a very big difference. People blocking when they're not supposed to be, not recognizing that they need to use their blockers as the win condition for attacking rather than blocking. There are cases that you need to just let your opponent's attacks go through, and then you open attack next turn because you have more damage than they do, and there is no point of you trading. I have seen that mistake made a lot, where people always think that they have to block every time, but sometimes the right thing is just to let it pass, because then your opponent can't do any combat tricks, and their turn for attacking is now over, of course, unless they have Rally, which is another card you need to be thinking about and playing around while you're playing Legends of Runeterra as well. And also, it's all, like I said, just small mistakes of forgetting what spells to play around. Like, just kind of losing that focus for a bit, and then all of a sudden, you've lost the game because you forgot that this card existed, and that makes it really tough sometimes. I think a really, really big one too that a lot of people miss is mulligans. Mulligans are so extremely important. Looking and seeing exactly what your opponent is playing, look at their colors, look at their champions, decide, alright, this is typically an aggressive list, oh, this is typically mid-range, oh, this is Ezreal combo list, oh, this is Karma Ez, it's going to burst me down quickly. See exactly what they're doing and realize what it is. If you're playing against a discard aggro list, you need to be mulliganing for low cost creatures and healing. So if you are against discard aggro, you want to find your 1 and 2 drops, things that you can contest with early, things that go wide if possible, and you want to find your healing, like your Withering Wail if you're an SI for instance, things that do some AoE damage, heal you, Avalanche if you're in Freylord. Just that's some really good examples of things you want to be looking for. If you're against a slower deck, such as like Karma Ezreal, you want to be looking for those mid-range threats, and go wide if possible too, but generally you want to find ways that your mana curve is being used super, super efficiently. And that is extremely important, knowing that you can continuously put on the pressure. So if you have a 1-drop and a 4-drop, so like a 1-drop and a 4-drop, and then like another 4 and another 4, get rid of those 4s. Keep that 1, get rid of those 4s. You need to find the 2, 3, 4, or 2 2s, or just something to be able to follow up with on in the future turns. You do not want to lose tempo because you'll lose the game. And mulligans, really, they win you or lose you games all the time. It's just something that's really hard for people to notice and go back to and realize I mulliganed wrong and that's why I lost. I definitely had some games in my diamond games that I mulliganed wrong and I lost because of them, when I just got out of focus for that little bit. There'll be cases where you get burned on it too. That's just how variance in card games works. But overall, it can make such a huge difference. Knowing when to mulligan, knowing what to mulligan, what you're looking for in each matchup is just incredibly important. Next tip is for diamond. And really it's just kind of bringing all those tips together. At this point, you know the decks, you know what you're mulliganing for, you know what you're looking for, you know what your opponent's deck is, you know your win condition, and really it's about grinding and also just getting as comfortable as you can with the deck that you are using. That's super, super important. Pretty much all the time I see people in Twitch chat say, I am hard stuck in Diamond 2, what deck should I be playing? And the answer is the deck that you're most comfortable on. Obviously a deck that is also decent is good, but it doesn't have to be literally the tier 1 deck. The tier 1 deck isn't always the best deck for you to be playing or climbing on. It is very true in that regards that you want to play a deck that you know the ins and outs of every single matchup. That's why you see my games here, it's Lux and Karma. Lux and Karma has not been a tier 1 deck. And this is what I grinded from D3 all the way up to Master with, and very continuously got wins with this deck because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew the mulligan for each matchup, I knew when I wanted to attack, when I wanted to block, what my win condition was, and what my combos were. I knew the deck very, very comfortably. You can see I mulligan what I need here. I ended up saying, hey, I need Will here, and I got 2 Wills, but at the same time, I knew what I was looking for because that was my only chance. Like, I was looking for elusives, I found my elusives, and then I was looking for Will, probably just to throw back a buffed unit or something like that. I think that's exactly what I was looking for because of Jeweled Protector. But I knew this matchup very, very well at the time. I knew what I was looking for, and I was able to do very well because of that, simply because I knew what to mulligan for. There's cases if you don't mulligan correctly, you lose. That's it. Sorry, I've said that over and over again, but mulligans are so important. They are so, so, so important, and they're very hard to track down. Another thing that you might consider that has been brought up some is people in Diamond know, and Master, know what decks people are playing. They know if you queue up Freljord and Ionia that you're playing Kinko Elusives. They know that if you play Karma and Ezreal, you're playing Karma and Ezreal OTK combo. They know if you play mid-range Demacia, they know the combat tricks you're running. They know that there's single combats there and the barriers there. They know exactly what it is. However, if you make a well-built, keyword well-built, like homebrewed list, that can give you a huge advantage. Assuming that the deck makes sense, it's, you know, not just throwing random things just to be like, ah, gotcha, but making a coherent deck that has different tech choices in it that people aren't playing around can make a very big difference, because you have the upper hand strictly by knowing what's in your deck, and you know what's in their deck, but they don't know what's in your deck, and that's pretty sweet. That's something that a few people who have reached rank 1 have done multiple times, because they made something else, something a bit innovative, and it ended up working very well for them because their opponent didn't know what was going on. And that is another tip that I would say I have. I would say for tips in general for, Iron through Masters and really beyond that, climbing in Masters, is you want to avoid autopiloting. I have a very hard time with autopilot. I very easily autopilot games because I just, at some point it's just like, alright, this is what I do, especially if I play the same deck. In some cases, autopilot can be fine, the instinctual play of it, but you also need to make sure, if you're an autopilot, that you're also thinking about your opponent's hand and what they're looking to do. It is very, very important that you know those things, and it's very easy to lose track of those if you're not paying attention. I think that being comfortable in your deck is very important, and that's also why I say don't change decks too often. And that is one that I don't really know what the consensus on it is. I feel like a lot of people say to change a deck after like 2 or 3 losses. Generally I say after 3 losses, take a break, not change your deck. Unless you're playing like normal and you're just having fun or whatever. But if you're really looking to seriously climb and grind, I'd say take the break. But overall, you want to make sure that you're very knowledgeable about what's going on in your deck and know exactly what's going to happen, and you can get into a groove if you play the same deck. If you're changing decks all the time, your mindset has to change. If you're playing an aggressive list and all of a sudden you're playing this control combo list, you're just not as comfortable switching all of a sudden, unless you've of course had a ton of practice on those decks. That is a possibility, but even with that, it's still, I just got in such a groove when I was playing this deck that you're seeing right now. I knew exactly what was going on and exactly what to expect, and wow, it was so great knowing this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to play Judgment, and this is how I'm going to win after that. Oh, it was fantastic. I would say patience overall. It is a very long grind. It's a bit exhausting in some ways, but that's just how it goes, especially when you start from Iron all the way up to Master in 1 season. Later it'll be reset to like Plat and Gold, and then you'll be able to climb and they'll make it a bit easier. But just avoiding tilt, it's very, very easy to tilt, and it does affect your play. You might not believe it at the time, but it impacts your play and negatively does so. And like I said, I have issues with this sometimes where I'll get annoyed, especially with myself more so than even like deck draws and stuff. If I make a mistake, it's really hard for me not to be upset at myself for that mistake, because I feel like I should be playing better than that. And that is super, super important, to make sure that your mental state is in a good state to climb, that you're enjoying the game that you're playing, and that it's just not a grind on its own. You're really enjoying the wins. Of course, you don't have to enjoy the losses, but enjoying the wins and thinking about, give yourself the pat on the back of, hey, you played turn 8 really well, you did this, and that allowed for this, and that allowed for you to win, and that was really good thinking of you. I mean, it's good to acknowledge yourself and that you did well in a game. I think it's a really great thing, and I would say always be thinking on your turn, thinking on their turn, thinking exactly about what your win condition is and how you're going to succeed in that win condition. And those are my general tips. This is a quick video, not edited much, because I just wanted to give you some of my thoughts before the season ends, and this is perfect timing because the game just ended. I'm watching it on that screen. But I'm sorry, I feel like a lot of those were repetitive, but I also think that they are very important as well. Oh, there's my 80-point game. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause that, because after this I turn on my camera and start recording for the Masters video that I have. So you can go check out that video if you want to. And at this point, like, I remember I was so nervous. I was like, I gotta go on camera now before I record this. And I actually failed this next game right here. This next game, I failed it. I failed 3 promotions. 2 or 3 promotions. I can't remember exactly. But I failed it, and then, like, I think I lost 2 or 3 in a row, and I was kind of bummed. I was like, oh no, I'm going straight back to Diamond 2 again, and then I told myself to suck it up and quit thinking that way, because I knew that negative mindset was going to cause me just to fall even further. And then I got back to it, and then I think I missed again, and then missed another game, and then like 1, 2, or 3 more, and then I got my video of the Masters games, and you can see that I was pretty nervous there. I'm breathing pretty heavily, and yeah, it's kind of making me nervous think about it, honestly. But go ahead and check out that Masters video because it's a really great one, and you can really see how I'm thinking about my plays, recognizing, for instance, like that my opponent had Brittle Steel. They did end up using it that turn, but they didn't. I was gonna know it for next turn that they have Brittle Steel in their hand, and it's very, very important of being able to take those notes and take those mental notes as well. That video is 17 minutes long. Oh man. Well, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that some of these tips helped you. I'm sorry for the repetition, but I really do appreciate you being here. Thanks everyone. Bye.